Labubu, 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 labubu. So depending on when I post this video, I'm either on time or very late to the subject matter, because by now people have probably moved on to a new topic, or that thing has evolved into something completely unrecognizable to what it was back then. I mean, the conversation used to be about blind boxes in general, until labubus completely took over the spotlight, to the point where if you ask the general public to think about a blind box, they're probably going to think about labubus and not the vinyl figurines that came before it. However, when people talk about labubus and blind boxes, I always see the discussion of gambling being present. Since you never know what's inside a certain box, you always have to guess what design you're going to get. If you don't weigh or squish your figures or find a secret code, then you are going in completely blind. You might get the figure, or a duplicate, or something even worse, a total dud. It led many people to conclude that there's a very concerning aspect that Popmart and other companies are using dangerous tactics to get people to buy more boxes. But does this hold any weight? Well, as someone that's owned these little funky guys for almost a decade, I do have a lot to say in the matter. These little brain worms are infecting my mind. So let's ask the big question. Are blind boxes gambling? Short answer, yeah. Long answer, well, if you take Popmart as a slot machine compared to the other blind boxes that are slot machines, I feel like they'd be the most generous, giving wins, and it'd be like the most popular one, so that's why a lot of people go to their slot machines and not the other slot machines, because the other slot machines are getting lost. Okay, where am I even going with this? So let's start off with this rambling. Why do we have blind boxes in the first place? Why can't we just select what specific toy we want at the counter? Well, it's simple, because it makes a lot of money. That mystery aspect gives it a type of allure that you never know what you're gonna get. You keep opening boxes, and with it comes new toys to add to your collection. But you want that specific mechanic Frankie because she looks so slick in that outfit, and she looks super cool in your mason jar. Just gotta get a few more boxes. Frankie. According to this Popmart report taken from this Answers in Progress video about blind boxes, that was in my old response video that nowadays I do not like. Because it felt like I was speaking down to the audience on obvious things they already knew, and this video is being made to become the definitive version of my opinions. Why do I talk like that? Nobody cares about that. Customers will often buy 2 or 3 more boxes just to get a specific design they like. And that's pretty powerful. The blind box aspect is pretty effective and gets a ton of sales, with things like set list, ratio, and rare chases that are 1 in 144 boxes. It's so understandable why so many accuse of them implementing gambling into obtaining collectible figures, because, well, it is. But the way that Popmart does it is very interesting. And like I said, I've collected a lot of these different figurines, and I've noticed that the way Popmart does their blind boxes is very different from other companies that have tried this before. So let's get this obvious out of the way. Popmart did not invent the blind box concept. I know that's incredibly obvious for some, but I don't know why some insist that a concept like this have never existed until Popmart came around. Of course, blind box figurines have been a thing since at least the 90s and early 2000s. We have things like Funko Mystery Minis and Tokidokis, for example. Hell, they're not even the first to come up with the concept of art toys being in blind boxes. In the 2000s, there was this company called Kid Robot who, like Popmart, released a multitude of vinyl figurines in blind boxes, inviting a lot of artists to make toys for them. Put a bin on them. We'll get back to that later. And I do want to bring point to the fact that I did say art toys. Because yes, a lot of these Popmart products are advertised as art toys, or designer toys in some cases, but either way they're still the same thing. And that Popmart is founded in China. Those distinctions are very important because in Asia, there was this pretty big art movement in the 1990s that started in Hong Kong. This movement aimed to create toys with artists in mind. Instead of being playthings, they were considered more like as statues, being sculpted with the artist's visions in mind. This started with artists like Michael Low and Eric So. And these toys are really interesting. They have these very stylized graffiti urban look to them. And it was one of the first few toys at this time. They're really trying to start making more toys for an older audience and putting them more as collector and artistic items. And a lot of companies in Asia were created to capitalize on this trend. Now, stuff that comes into mind is keys back in the day, and over time we had things like Mighty Jacks. And of course in Japan, there was Medicom with their ever-lucrative bear brick sets. So really, Popmart was just another part of that Asian toy market. Yes, their style of putting toys in blind boxes does make them a lot of money. But again, it's the way they operate that's completely unique to everybody else. Let me explain it here. First, let's examine a Popmart blind box. I'm going to use this Peach Riot Rise Up series, because I think Peach Riot is the best Popmart series up to date, don't at me. But as you can see here, every toy has a 1 in 12 chance of getting a specific design you want. And of course, there's a secret rare that's a 1 out of 144, because of course it is. Each toy is cased in a box set that has 12 blind boxes each. Now, have you noticed something already? The whole of the ratio is exactly the number of full blind boxes in a set, meaning that every single blind box set in the set is a new, unique figure. And to me, this is important for a couple of reasons. First, if you buy 2 or 3 blind boxes of that same set, then every time you pull, you will get a new blind box figure to add to your collection, or trade if that's still a thing in our post-COVID world. Secondly, if you are aiming for a specific design, this system creates an illusion where you're more likely to encounter the figure that you're after, and if you don't, well, it did feel like you were a lot closer to getting that specific design that you wanted. But it creates this paradox where if you buy more blind boxes, you do have a better chance of getting a specific toy that you wanted, but also everything equals in rarity, so that doesn't really matter because it's all pure randomization. Unless you buy the whole set. Which, speaking of, third, you could just buy the whole set. Yep, for exactly $250, you can just get a get out of gambling free card and acquire the whole figure lineup. Not to chase though, that's too generous. Back to the slot machines for you. I'm surprised not a lot of people are mentioning this in these videos because there are definitely die-hard fans that will fork up the extra cash to get everything. And that also equates a lot to Popmart sales. And you're probably looking at this and going, well, that doesn't mean anything. It's still a randomized gacha system with no telling what you're gonna get, so how's this really better than anything else? Well, remember when I said that there were blind boxes in the past including Kid Robot? Well, guess what else I collect? Yes, as a blind box autistic myself, yeah, I am hoping in the fact every day that I have blind box autism. I wish I had rhythm game autism. I have a fair share of Kid Robot blind box figurines, which also implement the exact same gambling ratio system that Popmart has. But looking at the way they determine a part and a whole for each individual figure they make, it sure does make Popmart look like they're giving away free money. But so most sets are 20 blind box figure sets. So do you expect the whole of the ratio to be 20, right? Well, it does match for a couple of figures. You got 1s and 20s out here, and you even have some that are 2 out of 20s, implying that there will be duplicates in this set. Alright, makes sense? And then they just completely introduced some random ass shit like 3 out of 40 boxes, which, what? So now they're determining a hole based on the 2 blind box sets. I sure hope that design you wanted a 3 out of 40 in is in that one blind box set you made a purchase for, and not all 3 of them are lumped into the second one. Oh, but it gets so much worse. How about 3 out of 100 boxes? Why? I don't know. That's not even considered the chase. Oh, and speaking of chases, there is an average of 4 to 5 chase figurines in each set, most of them being recolored variants of regular figures, and on average they are about 1 in 60s to 1 out of 100s, some even could go completely out of the graph. Like this figurine, which is a 1 out of 400 boxes. Yeah, really. And just to top it all off, sometimes they don't even tell you the ratio of these figures. Yeah, I'm not joking, a lot of them are left in question marks, and what's funnier is that All Vinyls, which is the website that I've acquired all this information for a lot of the Kid Robot sets, aren't even sure about the rarities they posted on their site. At least Popmart has a goal to tell you how screwed you might be. I think when you see these ratios compared to Popmart's, you can see how Popmart's gaming system is more approachable to people, and that kind of comprehension would give you the illusion that you are going to get a higher chance of getting what you wanted. Not only that, but Popmart is completely eliminate duplicates, and it all around gives this new level of trust, especially since buying a full case of Kid Robot blind boxes doesn't even guarantee you the whole set of regular figurines. And getting duplicates on a gambling system is the most terrible feeling in the world. And for that, I have a personal story. One day I went to the mall and I went to the Sanrio store, and I decided to go to the Sanrio store to buy a recently released set of Toki Mondo from Tokidoki. I really like this King Kix figure, so I decided to buy at least 5 blind box figures to increase my chances of getting that, which all around did total up to $60. As I opened up my first box, I got Space Bear 5 and a good corneo. Pretty good, right? Then the next box, Space Bear 5. Next box, Space Bear 5. And finally, as if its deadpan eyes are there to taunt me of my horrible misfortune, Space freaking Bear 5. I was absolutely devastated on how such a misplay can happen like that. I was literally wasting money on pure luck. This wasn't even the chase. I could have saved more if I just bought a loose figure on eBay. The reason I bring this up is Popmart's stance to eliminate duplicates on their sets make it so that every kind of purchase seems worthwhile. If I had opened up a Popmart set, then the rest of those Space Bear 5s that I got could have been unique figures that would be new. And even if I didn't get the one I want, I would still be pretty happy with my selection. So in short, you can't just say gambling is the pure reason why Popmart is so successful. I mean, it is to some extent, but there's also a strategic use of eliminating duplicates and making sure that every figure is a win. Do I think this is a dangerous tactic to sell blind boxes in? I don't know, I guess. I feel like a lot of collectors do have limits on what they buy and how they collect, and they know how to play by these rules. Now, it does depend for a lot of people, and there are people out there that can make this hobby a dangerous addiction. And I know with the talk about labubus, it makes it seem like there are people that are absolutely wasting money into this, but it seems like a vocal minority, and a lot of them would be happy in getting cheaper alternatives, like this Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh ones, or just simply not buy into it altogether. But also the thing with labubus is that they have become their own thing, and to be honest with you, most of the stuff that I was talking about does relate to labubus, but they weren't the main focus of this video. But that's where I'm gonna end things on this. But before I close, I do want to leave you with one more thing. With a lot of those videos talking about blind boxes and gambling and how dangerous they are and the overall massive amounts of consumption in our deep late stage capitalism world, I feel like the first few were a deep, interesting look into the topic, and they do genuinely have a lot of things to say. But I feel like more and more videos just kind of went for that algorithmic push, and they're just talking about it because it's a brand new popular thing with nothing new to add. It's just people parodying the same things just to get a few views. And as someone who's been collecting blind box toys since my teen years, it does suck seeing a hobby that I've invested for all my life just turn into another trendy topic for the content mill. I may do another video talking more deep about my personal thoughts with this. What I do want to say is that with all this noise, you tend to forget that real artists were behind the creation of a lot of these vinyl toys, who wanted to make something with meaning. Sure, the first few sets may feel like that until further down they got more corporate, but you can't deny that there's still a lot of passion and creativity in many of these figurines. And I'm one of the many who collect these little guys because they inspire me a lot in my own creative works. And plenty of artists do collect these for creativity in their own art. And that might even push for some people to create their own art toys as well for expression purposes. Some might say it'll just be a bunch of plastic waste, but I mean, did we really need all that rock to construct the Michelangelo's David? No, but it does look pretty cool. And that's all it boils down to at the end of the day. It just looks so cool. It's always been pretty cool. I'm Tillsweet, and let's see what the next video brings us.